Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our daily English Conversation podcast series. This is episode 3 of our English learning journey, and today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic that can completely change the way you learn, speak, and live. The topic is how to train your brain to think better. Let's get started, my friends.
That's right, Daniel. And this is not only about becoming smarter, it is about understanding how our brain works and learning how we can use it more effectively. Many people think that some people are naturally intelligent and some people are not. But the truth is, our brain is like a muscle. The more we train it, the stronger it becomes. I really like that idea, Emma, because when we go to the gym, we understand that our body needs exercise. If we want stronger arms, we lift weights. If we want better health, we exercise regularly. But many people forget that our brain also needs training. Exactly. Every day, our brain receives thousands of messages. We see things, we hear things, we read things, we experience emotions. And our brain has to process all this information. But the question is, are we training our brain in the right way? Or are we just allowing our brain to work automatically?
That is a great question. I think many people live their lives on autopilot. They wake up, check their phone, go to work or school, complete their tasks, come home, watch videos, sleep, and the next day, they repeat the same routine.
Yes, and there is nothing wrong with having a routine. A good routine can actually help us. But if we never challenge our brain, it becomes comfortable. And when the brain becomes too comfortable, we stop growing.
So, Emma, can we really train our brain? Can an ordinary person improve their thinking ability?
Absolutely. The human brain has something called neuroplasticity. It means our brain can change and create new connections throughout our life. For example, when someone learns a new language, plays a musical instrument, or develops a new skill, their brain creates new pathways.
That is fascinating. So when someone practices English speaking every day, their brain is actually changing?
Yes. Every time you practice a new sentence, remember a new word, or try to communicate in English, your brain is building a new habit. At first, it feels difficult. You may think, I cannot remember this word. I cannot speak fluently. My pronunciation is not good. But after repeated practice, your brain becomes familiar with it.
I think many English learners experience this problem. They study English for years, but when they have to speak, their mind becomes completely empty.
Yes, and there is a reason behind that. Many learners only train their memory. They memorize grammar rules, they memorize vocabulary lists, but they do not train their brain to use English naturally.
So learning a language is not only about remembering information, it is about training your brain to think differently.
Exactly. Imagine a child learning their first language. A child does not study grammar books. A child listens, observes, repeats, makes mistakes, and improves. Their brain slowly learns patterns. Adults can also do this, but we need intentional practice.
That's a beautiful explanation. Emma, I have another question. Why do some people solve problems easily, while others feel stuck?
Great question. One important difference is their thinking process. Some people immediately react emotionally. They see a problem and think, this is impossible. I cannot do this. I always fail. But people with trained thinking habits ask different questions. They ask, what can I learn from this? What is the next small step? How can I improve?
So the quality of our questions affects the quality of our thoughts.
Exactly. A better question creates a better direction. Your brain follows the questions you give it. If you constantly ask negative questions, your brain searches for negative answers. But if you ask positive and useful questions, your brain starts looking for solutions.
That is a powerful idea. Your brain is like a search engine. The question you type decides the results you get.
I love that comparison. And today, in this episode, we will discuss practical ways to train your brain. We will talk about how to think clearly, how to improve focus, how to build better habits, how to stop overthinking, how to develop a positive mindset, and especially how English learners can train their brain to think in English. Before we continue, we have a small question for our listeners. We want to know about you. Where are you listening from? What is your name? And what is your biggest challenge when learning English? Is it speaking, pronunciation, vocabulary, or confidence? Write your answer in the comments. We love reading your stories, and your experience can inspire another learner around the world.
Emma, I think many people have a simple question. How does our brain actually create thoughts? What happens inside our mind when we think about something?
That is a fascinating question, Daniel. Our brain is one of the most complex systems in the world. Every second, our brain receives and processes a huge amount of information. It helps us understand what we see, what we hear, what we feel, and what we experience. When we think about something, our brain connects different pieces of information that we already have.
So our thoughts are created from our experiences and memories?
Exactly. Our brain is constantly collecting information from our life. For example, imagine you are walking down a street and suddenly you smell fresh bread from a bakery. That smell may remind you of your childhood. Maybe you remember going to a bakery with your parents. Maybe you remember a special moment. A simple smell creates a connection between the present and the past.
That is incredible. A small thing like a smell can bring back a memory from many years ago?
Yes, our brain is always making connections. The people we meet, the things we read, the videos we watch, and the conversations we have all leave an impact on our thinking. Every experience becomes a small piece of information stored inside our brain.
So everything around us is training our brain whether we realize it or not?
Exactly. That is why we need to be careful about what we allow into our minds. Think about your brain like a garden. If you plant good seeds and take care of them, beautiful plants can grow. But if you ignore the garden, weeds can grow everywhere. Our thoughts work in a similar way.
I really like that example. So positive information, useful knowledge, and good habits are like planting healthy seeds in our brain.
Yes. For example, if someone spends every day learning something new, reading books, practicing a skill, and having meaningful conversations, their brain becomes familiar with learning. But if someone spends most of their time only consuming random information without thinking deeply, their brain develops a different pattern.
That reminds me of something. Many people say, I want to become smarter, but they do not change what they put into their brain every day.
Exactly. A person cannot expect a different result while following the same mental habits. Our brain learns from repetition. The things we repeat become easier for our brain. For example, when you first learn to ride a bicycle, your brain has to focus on every small action. You think about balance, you think about moving the handle, you think about using the brakes. But after enough practice, you can ride naturally without thinking too much.
Because the brain creates a stronger connection through practice.
Right. This happens with almost everything. Driving a car, speaking a language, playing an instrument, solving problems. At first, it feels difficult because your brain is building a new pathway. But with consistent practice, that pathway becomes stronger.
That explains why many English learners feel frustrated at the beginning. They study English for a few days or weeks, but they expect themselves to speak fluently.
Yes. The brain needs time. Learning is not like downloading a file where everything appears instantly. It is more like building a road. The first time you walk on a new road, it is difficult. But every time you use that road, it becomes clearer and easier.
That is a great comparison. Emma, I have another question. Why do we sometimes have negative thoughts, even when we want to think positively?
That is something everyone experiences. The human brain naturally pays attention to problems. This helped humans survive in the past. Imagine thousands of years ago, people had to notice danger quickly. If there was a dangerous animal nearby, the person who noticed it survived. The brain learned to look for possible threats.
So our brain is designed to protect us?
Exactly. But in modern life, this protective system can sometimes create unnecessary worries. For example, before an interview, your brain may start saying, "What if I fail? What if I forget everything? What if people judge me?"
I think many people experience that. Even before something happens, their brain creates a negative story.
Yes. The interesting thing is that your brain is trying to prepare you. It thinks, if I imagine every possible problem, maybe I can avoid it. But sometimes it creates more stress instead of helping.
So our brain can sometimes become our biggest supporter, but sometimes it can also become our biggest obstacle.
Exactly. And that is why we need to train our thinking. We cannot control every thought that appears in our mind, but we can control which thoughts we focus on.
Can you explain that with an example?
Sure. Imagine someone is learning English. One day, they make a mistake while speaking. Their brain may immediately say, "My English is terrible. I will never improve. I cannot speak confidently." Now, those thoughts feel real, but they are not facts. A better response would be, "I made a mistake, but mistakes are part of learning. I am improving every day. I only need more practice."
That small change in thinking can completely change someone's motivation.
Exactly. The way we talk to ourselves matters. Your inner conversation is one of the strongest influences on your mindset. If you constantly criticize yourself, your brain starts creating a negative identity. But if you encourage yourself, your brain becomes more open to learning.
So we should become aware of our inner voice.
Yes, many people talk to themselves in a way they would never talk to another person. Imagine your friend makes a mistake while learning something new. You probably would say, "Don't worry, keep practicing. You will improve." But when we make mistakes, we often say, "I am useless. I can never do this." That is not helpful.
That is a very important point. We should treat ourselves with the same patience we give to others.
Exactly. A trained brain does not mean a brain that never has negative thoughts. A trained brain means a brain that knows how to handle those thoughts.
I love that, because many people think successful people are always confident and positive, but maybe the difference is that successful people know how to manage difficult thoughts.
Absolutely. Everyone experiences fear, doubt, and failure. The difference is how they respond. Some people see a problem and think, "This is impossible." Others see the same problem and think, "This is difficult, but what can I learn from it?" The situation is the same, but the thinking process is different.
So improving our thinking starts with becoming aware of our thoughts, understanding them, and choosing better responses.
Exactly. And the good news is that this is a skill anyone can develop. Your brain can change at any age. You are never too old or too young to improve the way you think.
That is really motivating. Our brain is not a fixed machine. It is something we can train every day.
Yes. Every book you read, every skill you practice, every conversation you have, and every challenge you face is an opportunity to train your brain.
And I think this idea connects strongly with language learning. Because learning English is not just about memorizing words. It is about training your brain to create new patterns.
Exactly. And that brings us to one of the biggest challenges for English learners: How can we stop translating everything in our head and start thinking directly in English?
Emma, this is something I think almost every English learner struggles with. They know many English words. They understand grammar rules. They can read and write English. But when they try to speak, their brain becomes slow. They first think in their native language, then translate the sentence into English. Why does this happen?
That is a very common challenge, Daniel. And the reason is simple. When we learn a new language, our brain naturally tries to use the language system that is already familiar. For most people, their first language is connected with their thoughts, emotions, and memories. So when they want to say something in English, their brain automatically creates the idea in their first language first. Then it searches for English words to translate that idea.
So the problem is not that people are bad at English. It is just that their brain has created a habit.
Exactly. The brain loves habits. It always tries to find the easiest and fastest way. If you have spent 20 years thinking in your native language, your brain will naturally choose that path. But the good news is, the brain can create a new path.
Like building a new road?
Exactly. Imagine there are two roads in a city. One road is old and very familiar. You use it every day. The other road is new, and you rarely use it. Which road will you choose?
The old one, because it is easier.
Right. Your brain works the same way. Your native language is the old road. Thinking directly in English is the new road. At first, the new road feels difficult. But every time you practice, that road becomes stronger.
That makes a lot of sense. So how can someone start creating this new English thinking pathway?
The first step is very simple. Start with small thoughts. Many learners make a mistake. They think, I need to think about complex topics in English. But that is too difficult in the beginning. Start with everyday things. For example, when you wake up, instead of thinking, I need to translate my morning routine into English, just create simple English thoughts. I am tired. I need water. I need to get ready. The weather is nice today.
So the goal is not to create perfect sentences. The goal is to make English a natural part of your thinking.
Exactly. Many learners wait until their English is perfect before they start thinking in English. But it works the opposite way. Thinking in English helps you become better at English.
That is interesting. So we should not wait for confidence. We should practice until confidence comes.
Yes. Confidence is usually the result of practice, not the beginning of practice. Let me give an example. Imagine someone wants to learn swimming. They say, I will enter the water when I become a good swimmer. That does not make sense. They become a good swimmer by entering the water and practicing. Language works the same way.
I like that example. Emma, many learners say, when I speak English, I know the word, but I cannot remember it quickly. Why does that happen?
Because they know the word passively, but they have not trained their brain to use it actively. There's a difference between recognizing a word and producing a word. For example, you may understand the word comfortable when someone says it. But when you want to describe your chair, your brain may search, what is that word?
So the word exists in the brain, but the connection is weak.
Exactly. The solution is using words repeatedly in different situations. Instead of only memorizing, comfortable means feeling relaxed. Create sentences. This chair is comfortable. My shoes are comfortable. I feel comfortable speaking English. Now your brain creates more connections.
So vocabulary is not just collecting words, it is building relationships with words.
Beautifully said. A word becomes stronger when you connect it with experiences. For example, if you learn the word delicious from a textbook, you may forget it. But if you eat amazing food and think, this food is delicious, your brain connects the word with a real experience. That makes it easier to remember.
That explains why experiences help us learn faster. Our brain remembers things that have emotions.
Exactly. Emotions are powerful teachers. Think about your favorite memories. You probably remember many details because those moments had strong emotions. The brain pays attention to things that feel important.
So if English learners want to remember more, they should make learning more interesting and personal?
Yes. For example, instead of only learning, run means to move quickly, imagine a situation. You are late for work. You run to catch the bus. Now the word has a story. Your brain remembers stories better than isolated information.
That is a great point. Our brain loves stories. Maybe that is why people remember movies and conversations better than lists of information.
Exactly. Stories create connections. They include people, emotions, places, and events. That is why when learning English, conversations are very powerful. You are not just learning sentences, you are learning how people communicate.
Emma, can you share some daily exercises to train the brain to think in English?
Of course. The first exercise is called English self-talk. It means speaking or thinking about your own actions in English. For example, when you are cooking, I am cutting vegetables. The water is boiling. I need more salt. When you are working, I need to finish this task. I will check my email. These small thoughts train your brain.
Some people might think, talking to myself sounds strange.
Yes, but remember, you do not need to speak loudly. You can do it silently in your mind. Your goal is to create an English thinking habit.
What is the second exercise?
The second exercise is describing your surroundings. Look around and describe what you see. For example, I see a laptop. The wall is white. There is a cup on the table. This simple activity teaches your brain to connect real objects with English words.
That sounds easy. Anyone can do that anywhere.
Exactly. The third exercise is asking yourself questions in English. For example, what should I do today? What did I learn yesterday? What is my plan for tomorrow? Then try to answer in English.
I think this is powerful because conversations are based on questions and answers.
Exactly. You are training your brain for real communication.
Emma, what about people who say, I always forget English words? My memory is weak.
Many people believe they have a bad memory, but often the problem is not memory. The problem is the learning method. If you see a word once and never use it again, your brain decides this information is not important. But if you use the word many times, your brain understands, I need to remember this.
So repetition tells the brain what is important.
Yes, the brain saves what we repeatedly use. That is why daily practice is better than studying for many hours once a week. 10 minutes every day can be more powerful than 3 hours once a month. Consistency beats intensity. Small actions repeated over time create big changes. Your brain changes through daily experiences. I think this gives hope to many learners. They do not need to become perfect today. They only need to train their brains step by step. Absolutely. Remember, do not be afraid of simple English. Simple sentences are the foundation of fluent English. Every fluent speaker started with basic words. The difference is they continued practicing.
That is a great message. So to think in English, start small. Create daily English thoughts. Use words in real situations. Practice consistently and do not wait for perfection.
Exactly. Because your brain learns through action. The more you use English, the more natural it becomes.
Emma, now that we understand how to think in English, I want to talk about another important part of training the brain. Many people want to improve their thinking, but they struggle with focus and discipline. How can we train our brain to concentrate better?
That is a very important topic because a focused brain can learn faster, remember more, and make better decisions.
Emma, you said something very important. A focused brain can learn faster, remember more, and make better decisions. But I think many people have a problem with focus. They want to learn something new, but after a few minutes, they get distracted. They check their phone, they open social media, they start thinking about other things. Why is it so difficult to stay focused?
That is a great question, Daniel. One reason is that our brain is constantly searching for new information. The brain naturally pays attention to things that are new or exciting. That is why notifications, short videos, and endless scrolling can easily capture our attention.
So our brain is attracted to quick rewards?
Exactly. When we see something interesting, our brain releases a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is connected with motivation and reward. For example, when you complete a difficult task, learn something new, or achieve a goal, your brain feels good. But many modern distractions provide very quick rewards.
Like watching a short video. You watch one video, then another one, and suddenly 1 hour has passed.
Exactly. The problem is not that technology is bad. Technology can be very useful. The problem is when we allow distractions to control our attention. A trained brain knows how to use technology without becoming controlled by it.
That is a very important difference. Technology should be our tool, not our master.
Exactly. Training your brain starts with controlling your attention. Your attention is one of your most valuable resources. Where you put your attention determines what you learn and what you become. So if someone spends their attention on learning, their brain grows in that direction. But if they spend all their attention on distractions, their brain develops that habit. Yes, your brain becomes better at whatever you practice. If you practice focusing, your focus improves. If you practice distraction, your distraction habit becomes stronger.
That is a powerful idea. The brain does not judge whether a habit is good or bad. It simply strengthens the patterns we repeat.
Exactly. That is why building good daily habits is one of the best ways to train your brain.
Let's talk about habits. Many people create big goals. They say, I will study English 5 hours every day. I will completely change my life. But after a few days, they stop. Why does that happen?
Because they depend only on motivation. Motivation is useful, but it is not always available. Some days you feel excited, some days you feel tired. A strong habit does not depend only on feelings. It depends on a system.
Can you explain the difference between motivation and a system?
Sure. Motivation says, I will study when I feel inspired. A system says, I study every day at 7 p.m. because it is part of my routine. A system removes the need to make a decision every time.
So habits make good actions easier?
Exactly. The brain loves automatic actions because they require less energy. Think about brushing your teeth. You do not wake up every morning and think, should I brush my teeth today? You simply do it. Why? Because it became a habit.
So our goal should be to make learning a habit, not a difficult task.
Yes. For example, instead of saying, I will learn English for 3 hours every day, start with, I will practice English for 10 minutes every morning. A small habit is easier to maintain, and once the habit becomes strong, you can increase it. I think many people underestimate small actions. They believe only big efforts create big results. Yes, but small actions repeated consistently create incredible results. Imagine you improve just 1% every day. The change may seem invisible today, but after months and years, the difference becomes huge. That reminds me of learning a language. One new sentence every day means hundreds of sentences in a year. Exactly. And those sentences become part of your thinking. This is how the brain grows. Not through one big moment, through thousands of small moments.
Emma, what are some daily habits that can make our brain stronger?
There are several simple habits. The first one is reading. Reading trains your brain to focus, imagine, and understand complex ideas. It exposes you to new information and new ways of thinking.
Even reading for a few minutes every day can help?
Absolutely. Consistency is more important than duration. Reading 10 pages every day is better than reading 100 pages once and then stopping.
What is another habit?
Writing. Writing is a powerful brain exercise. When you write, you organize your thoughts. You have to choose words. You have to create structure. This helps you think more clearly.
That is interesting. So writing is not only communication, it is also thinking practice.
Exactly. Many people understand ideas better when they write them down. For example, if you have a problem, try writing, "What is the problem? What are my options? What is one small action I can take?" Writing helps your brain move from confusion to clarity.
I really like that. Sometimes problems feel bigger in our mind than they actually are. Writing helps us see them clearly.
Exactly. Another important habit is asking questions. Curious people usually have stronger thinking skills because they constantly challenge their understanding. Instead of accepting everything, they ask, "Why? How does this work? Is there another way?"
So, curiosity keeps the brain active.
Yes. A curious brain is a learning brain. Children are naturally curious. They ask hundreds of questions because they want to understand the world. As adults, many people stop asking questions because they are afraid of looking uninformed.
But asking questions is actually a sign of intelligence.
Exactly. A person who asks questions is trying to grow.
Emma, what about physical health? Does the body affect the brain?
Absolutely. The brain and body are connected. Sleep, exercise, and nutrition have a huge impact on how we think. For example, when you do not get enough sleep, your brain has difficulty focusing and remembering information.
I have experienced that. After sleeping only a few hours, even simple tasks feel difficult.
Exactly. Because your brain needs rest to process information and recover. Sleep is not wasted time. It is a necessary part of learning.
What about exercise?
Exercise is also very important. When you move your body, it increases blood flow and supports brain health. Even a simple walk can help clear your mind. Many people get their best ideas while walking because their brain becomes more relaxed.
That explains why people often say, "I got a great idea while walking."
Exactly. A relaxed brain can think more creatively.
So training your brain is not only about studying. It is also about taking care of your lifestyle.
Yes. Your daily habits create your mental environment. If you sleep well, learn regularly, stay active, and manage distractions, your brain performs better.
This is a very important message. People often search for a magic method to become smarter. But the truth is, improvement comes from daily choices.
Exactly. Your brain changes based on what you do repeatedly. Every day is an opportunity to train your mind.
Before we move forward, I want to ask one more question. Many people know what habits they should build, but they struggle with consistency. They start with excitement, but stop after a few days. How can someone make their habits stronger?
The key is to make habits easy, realistic, and connected to something you already do. For example, if you drink tea every morning, you can connect a new habit with that routine. After drinking tea, practice 5 English sentences. The existing habit becomes a reminder for the new habit.
That is smart. You are not depending on memory. You are creating a system.
Exactly. And remember one thing. Missing one day is not failure. The important thing is returning. A strong brain is not built by being perfect. It is built by continuing.
I love that. Progress is not about never making mistakes. It is about not giving up.
Exactly.
And when we train our brain with these daily habits, we become better at learning, solving problems, and handling challenges.
Emma, today's conversation has made me realize something important. Many people believe that changing their life starts with changing their job, their city, or their circumstances. But maybe real change starts somewhere much smaller. It starts inside our mind.
I completely agree. The way we think affects the way we speak, the decisions we make, the habits we build, and even the goals we believe we can achieve. If we train our brain to learn instead of giving up, to stay curious instead of making excuses, and to focus instead of getting distracted, our life slowly begins to change.
And I think that's encouraging because it means anyone can start. You don't need expensive courses. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need the willingness to improve a little every day.
Exactly. Your brain doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for consistency. Imagine two people. One person studies English for 3 hours on Sunday and then doesn't practice for the rest of the week. Another person practices for just 15 minutes every single day. Who do you think will improve more after 6 months?
I would choose the second person because they are building a habit, not just completing a task.
That's right. Our brain learns through repetition. Every time you repeat a positive habit, you are telling your brain, this is important. Slowly, that habit becomes part of who you are.
So whether someone wants to become fluent in English, get a better job, pass an exam, or simply become a better thinker, the process is almost the same. Learn, practice, reflect, repeat.
Exactly. And don't be afraid of making mistakes. Mistakes are not signs that you're failing. They are signs that you're learning. Think about how children learn to speak. They don't wait until every sentence is perfect. They speak, they make mistakes, people correct them, and little by little, they become fluent.
That's such a good reminder for English learners. Sometimes we're so afraid of saying the wrong word that we don't say anything at all. But silence doesn't improve our English. Practice does.
Absolutely. Every conversation you have, every book you read, every podcast you listen to, and every new sentence you speak is training your brain. You may not notice the improvement today. You may not notice it tomorrow. But one day, you'll suddenly realize, I can understand more. I can speak more confidently. I can think more clearly. Those small improvements add up. I think that's the message everyone should remember. Don't compare yourself with someone who's been learning for 5 years. Compare yourself with the person you were yesterday. If you're improving, even by a small amount, you're moving in the right direction. Exactly. Progress is personal. Your journey is different from everyone else's. So celebrate every small victory. Celebrate finishing 1 chapter of a book. Celebrate learning 10 new words. Celebrate speaking English for 5 minutes without giving up. Those moments matter. Before we finish today's episode, let's give everyone a simple challenge. Not a difficult challenge, just something they can start today.
I like that idea. Here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, do these 3 things. First, learn 5 new English words or 1 useful English sentence every day. Second, spend 10 minutes thinking or talking to yourself in English about your day. And third, before you go to bed, ask yourself 1 simple question. What did I learn today? If you do these 3 things every day for 1 week, you'll begin training both your brain and your English at the same time.
That sounds simple enough for anyone to try. And here's another challenge. Don't skip a single day. Remember, consistency is much more powerful than intensity.
Exactly. We'd also love to hear about your progress. Come back after 7 days and tell us how you felt. Was it difficult? What did you learn? Did you notice any difference? Your story might inspire someone else to begin their own journey.
Now it's your turn. Answer today's question in the comments. If you could improve one thing about your brain, what would it be? Would you like better focus, a stronger memory, more confidence, less overthinking, or the ability to think in English? Write your answer below and let's learn from each other.
And if today's conversation helped you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Every week, we share real English conversations designed to help you improve your listening, speaking, vocabulary, and confidence, one conversation at a time.
If you enjoyed this episode, give it a like and share it with a friend who's learning English. Learning is always more fun when we grow together. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Keep practicing. Keep believing in yourself. And remember, a stronger brain isn't built in one day. It's built one thought, one habit, and one conversation at a time. We'll see you in the next episode with another interesting English conversation. Until then, keep speaking, keep thinking, and keep growing.